Alrighty, guys. So there are some new monsters out. I'll talk about the other spawns and stuff like that first. I made a video on the step up stuff. If you need help with the selection spawns, you can always reach out to me on Discord, or you can ask your guild. That would be good as well. The special spawn, I would recommend avoiding because we are one day into an almost 3-week event, and so there will most likely be more monsters, so just keep that in mind. You don't necessarily have to spawn right away. This one is nice. It is going to be around for the entire spawn, and I do absolutely love both of these monsters' animations. They both look fantastic. So the question is, are they worth it? Azur is the first one. Decreased priority is incredibly unfortunate in many instances for this monster, but we're going to go through it. So if you don't know, there are 3 types of priority. There's increased priority, which always goes first. Then there's normal priority, which goes after. And then there's decreased priority, which always goes after normal. So for example, if we're in guild battle and my entire team throws a decreased priority monster, but the enemy team throws nothing but normal priority monsters, if we win, if my team wins, it won't matter because normal priority monsters go before decreased priority monsters, which means that all of the enemy monsters are going to go off. Even if they lost the clash, they're going to go first before decreased priority monsters. So keep that in mind. For things like PvP, decreased priority monsters are absolutely garbage, just almost always. The reason is because, so for example, if I throw 3 monsters, an increased priority monster and a decreased priority monster, so 3 normals, 1 increase, 1 decrease, I have to hope that between the increased priority monsters and the 3 normal priority monsters, I can kill all of the enemies. Otherwise, the enemy's monster will most likely go off. Now, if Unison League starts releasing tons of decreased priority monsters, then it might change things. But as of right now, there are hardly any decreased priority monsters, and they are garbage just in general for PvE. Or sorry, for PvP and for guild battles. For PvE, it's very, very different. It depends on the monster. So let's get into it. This is a kill monster, as we can see. It does good damage. When Star is actually quite difficult to protect against, so that is nice. Time slicing is also really nice. Time slicing by 100 seconds is really powerful. We'll have to see. I could see this monster being thrown potentially as a counter monster on a character like a rook maybe, or a soldier. But right now it's impossible to live, so I hate it. Enemies applies slumber. Slumber's pretty good. We'll just pass it though. It's a PvP thing. Applies cost amplification reduction effects, and then on top of that, immediately removes 25%. Or 50 cost from the enemy. So for example, if you had no cost resistance, this should boost your cost reduction effects by 50%, so then you would be removing 75 cost. Now, if you had 100% cost reduction resistance, this would change it from 100% to 50%, and then you would only lose 25 cost. But keep in mind, you'd still lose some cost. Now, I don't know if you get more than 100%, if this will affect that, like if it just caps you off at 100% and then it'll automatically reduce it down to 50, or for example, if you're at 150% cost reduction resistance, if reducing it by 50 will then will then leave you with 100%. I don't know if that's the case. I haven't tested it, but that is my understanding of the way that it would work, because it's the same thing with healing reduction and stuff like that. So I hate this, the fact that it's on a decreased priority monster, but it is pretty nice. I mean, the idea is good. It's just on a decreased priority monster. So it's going to go after all of the other monsters. So any other monsters that reduce cost, they're not going to benefit from this. All allies' time extend by 80 seconds. That is incredibly good. The reason why is things like in PvE and PvP and guild battles, you want to throw your time extend monsters at the very end. And it's really, really annoying if your time extend monsters go before everyone else, or if nobody else on your team is throwing, but you want to throw a time extend monster. It can just be a nightmare. So the fact that this monster is decreased priority means that doesn't really matter. Everyone else's monsters should go off first, and you should always be max boosting, which is incredibly good. That's the only part of this monster that's like, wow, that's really good. Okay. Now, all allies changes cost to 60 as a demerit. Now, doesn't matter what your cost reduction resistance is. It could be 100, it could be 0. This changes it. So if your cost is at 3, for example, it'll change it to 60. If you're a morpher and your cost is at 150, this will reduce it down to 60. Doesn't matter. So for the fact that this is a decreased priority monster and it always goes last, this is garbage. For example, if you're playing a Lancer and you have 100% cost from the monsters, you should be able to use Lance Flash 4 times because each one is 25 cost, right? If you have an infinite ability bubble, you can just spam Lance Flash, and you just have to hope that your cost recovery and your procs will get you over the finish line, and so then you'll be able to infinitely use Lance Flash. However, if you get 2 bad procs in a row where you get no procs with Lance Flash after this monster, you're going to be left after this monster goes off, you're going to be left with 60 cost, and you basically only have 2 good Lance Flashes, maybe 3 if you proc at least once on a 10 cost. So overall, this is just garbage, like really, really bad, especially for a decreased priority monster. And in this day and age where most of the best abilities in the entire game are somewhere between 20 and 30 cost, it's not a good look. Siege is fine. The Vital Strikes is nice. Now, Wicked Eclipse, this is actually kind of interesting. The decreased status ailment resistance is garbage because nobody else is going to be able to go with their monsters, right? So because this monster is going last and it doesn't really apply anything besides Slumber, it's sequitur. It doesn't do anything. Reduces cost recovery speed by 10. That's actually massive. In conjunction with increasing ability costs, for the enemies by 100%. So essentially, you're guaranteed, if this monster goes off, you're guaranteed to remove some of their cost. Then you make it harder for them to gain cost, and you make all of their abilities cost twice as much. It's a really, really good combo. Now, the bad part, again, it's a decreased priority monster, so you can't run a strat around removing the enemy's cost. It's basically garbage. Now when it comes to disables Unison gauge fill from abilities and effects and all the other things, that's nice. It's just nice for PvP, it's just nice for guild battles. It just, Unison is king, especially it's called Unison League, so it makes sense. Unisons are super, super important and they win games, so that's nice. Boost main slot, as a main slot monster, boosts stats of all elements by 60%. That's pretty good. It's not, it's like, it's only for people who really want to flex. So people on the rankings, this is really where it matters. Everywhere else doesn't really matter. Your base stats from monsters are not enough to be super valuable, so I would just, it's like I would never use this in a main slot unless I was trying to just flex my gear score. 40k for the Awakening is atrocious. I don't know why they keep doing this. A team just doesn't understand. So for example, if you have 40k between 2 stats you have 80k total. But they've already released plenty of monsters that are 50 and 60k. If you're at 60k, then you get 120k stats. That's 40k more than this, which means it's a whole other awakening. You're missing out on 40k. 40k split against 10 monsters. That's 400k in total stats. I don't understand why A Team keeps releasing 40k monsters. Whatever. All allies applies blessing. I'm curious if this actually goes off after or before the demerit. If it goes off after the demerit, for example, if it removes your cost down here to 60, and then all allies applies blessing, that could be kind of nice. Because it when it applies the blessing, it recovers 50 costs. So we'll have to see. I don't know exactly how it'll end up shaking up, but it is kind of interesting. Abstraction resistance is horrible. Nobody needs abstraction anymore. Abstraction is the one that turns off your passives, because monsters like Pandora and Queen exist that can apply a field that disables your passives. Abstraction resistance is useless. I mean, abstraction resistance used to be the way to kill whales, right? Because if you turn off their Xenos gear, their protections and stuff like that, their constants, they're gonna get hit with more damage and they're gonna die to your Unisons. That was the point of abstraction. Now they've put it on a field, on an enemy field, which you can't avoid anymore. So abstraction resistance is basically garbage, because abstraction as a theory, as a useful tool, is garbage. So that's unfortunate. Now, fire and star defense. Star defense, remember, beats light and dark, so that's kind of nice. You're getting a total of 2100. However, currently wind is very weak and no one's really using it. So yeah, I don't know about that. Overall, for a PvE monster, I like the fact that it time extends at the very end. I hate the fact that it changes cost 60, and because I'm not 100% sure about when the blessing applies and if it actually recovers your HP or your cost back to 100, I just because I'm uncertain about that, I'm going to put this monster very, very clearly at a 5 out of 10 for PvE. You're basically getting one thing, which is the time extend, and you potentially get the blessing, but that's, which reduces your cooldown times, which is nice. Potentially get the blessing depending on if you awaken it. But for PvE, it's just kind of garbage. The enemy field is useless and you're not getting anything else. So yeah. Now, when it comes to PvP, it changes a little bit. If you're solo throwing and you know that the enemies shouldn't have uni, I like this monster. I think it's actually quite a powerful monster. It'll strip any of the enemy buffs. So for example, ward, resurrection, stuff like that. It'll decrease their cost and make it impossible for them to gain enough uni to be able to win. Plus their abilities will cost more. You're missing some things like penetration. You're missing good team buffs, so that's unfortunate, but the damage coming out from this monster should be quite sufficient, and as long as you don't feed the enemy monster or the enemy players, this is a fine monster to throw. I would say it is a solid 6 or 7, keep it a 6 out of 10 for solo throwing in PvP. Now, if everyone is throwing in PvP, then this drops down to like a 3 out of 10, because you're going to get uni locked or dead before your monster goes off. So round 3, this is not a monster to throw for PvP. For guild battles, I would say as a solo throw, round 1, it's okay. Actually, as a solo throw, round 1 for like a treasure hunter racer, this is not too bad. You're missing out on things like Unison gauge gains, and you're missing on Unison boosting your team, but the enemies can't gain uni with this type of field very easily. Plus, their abilities are going to cost twice as much, and you've just reduced their ability to reduce the cost. Like you've reduced their cost, and you've reduced their ability to reduce cost just in general. So general abilities from treasure hunters that steal cost will be able to start stealing cost again. Plus, usually at the beginning of guild battles, nobody has any cost. So boosting to 60 is actually massive for your team. You should be able to continuously maintain and build your advantage. So in some aspects, I do like this, but there's no unison down from the enemy. So if it's in a pure race off, you're not going to be able to do very well. But I think it's okay. I think as a starting place, it's not too bad. Now the damage is a lot, so you'll just have to reduce your attack and magic attack by a lot as well. But I would say, this is an 8 out of 10 monster as a solo throw, as a racing treasure hunter, or as like a first round throw. Now if you're trying to prevent the enemies from going to crystal, this is not really the monster. You're going to time slice, but you're going to have to survive the unis first. So the time slice is good, but only if you survive it. The cost reduction is basically garbage, and the field as well is really good. But again, this monster has to go off. So for example, if the enemies are throwing 3 unis and you throw this as like a counter to prevent them from going into crystal and from buffing and all the other things, I do like it if you have the ability to survive, but most people will not have the ability to survive. I would say this is a solid 8 out of 10 for preventing the enemies if they've already kind of buffed up. So I do like that as well. Now in a straight clash, so for example, round 2, round 3, anything after, 0 out of 10, because you're never going to survive a Pandora anyway. Your team either wins or loses based on what they've already thrown, so there's no point in even throwing this monster. You're basically just throwing this monster so that your allies have a higher chance of winning the clash. Because if you win the clash, then you're going to rely on hopefully the 4 other players that have thrown monsters to kill the enemies. If they don't kill the enemies, then this monster's never going to go off, because you're going to get hit with something like Pandora, you're going to get hit with any number of things, paralysis, slumber, time slice. All of your buffs are basically going to be gone anyway, and this monster doesn't buff you, so you're not going to be able to one-shot a crystal with this. So just garbage for GB. Overall, my opinion of this monster is a solid 6 out of 10. For new players, I would just avoid this monster. You just won't get any benefit from this as a new player, and it's just garbage for new players. Like usually as a new player, your biggest problem is your stats, and so you want monsters that buff a lot, and this monster doesn't buff. So it's, just avoid as a new player. As a free-to-play player, I would also avoid this. I don't think this gives you enough flexibility to really help you. And as like a long-term player, I would also recommend getting the other monster first. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of Azur, to be honest. Now, I could be wrong depending on if the cost reduction, if the blessing boosts your cost to 100. I'm not sure exactly how that'll work, but this one says all allies recovers 50 cost. So if this goes at the very end behind the demerit, then it could be good, because everyone will be, of course, back at 100% cost. Actually, hang on just a second. So if we look at a monster like Athena, she reduces cost by 50 and then boosts in the secondary. I'm pretty sure when this monster goes off, you get 100% cost. So the cost issue is basically going to be whether or not you have awakened this twice. But I don't think that changes a whole lot as far as my rating. I might boost it up to like a 7 out of 10. But this is, again, contingent upon the fact that you dump a bunch of Ninos in this monster, which I don't like. Because when I got Athena, and when many of my allies and friends and stuff got Athena, they weren't able to boost her for months. And so whenever you're trying to use this monster, unless you've got this, yeah, it's gonna be rough. Now, let's talk about Ortensia. She is a time monster. She hits 3 times. Unfortunately, if she hit 5 times, she would actually be able to kill people. But with 3 times, even with high ability power, you're not really going to kill anyone with this. Diffusion, that's good. Increases physical and magical ability power by 100 for 150 seconds. Boosts critical ability power by 100 for 150 seconds. Increases physical and magical ability power and critical assault buff by 50 for 150 seconds. Applies overcast for 60 seconds. She is the first Time Spirit crest, which, if you don't know, only boosts your stats by 50, applies a 40 time element, which is equivalent to 400% in all of your stats against star enemies, and boosts 25% of your damage towards star enemies with Starbane. That's good. Applies flank, which in my opinion is the 3rd best bubble. And yeah, so this is like a PvE monster right out the gate. We can see it. Now, she also awakens into Rage, which is good because she doesn't apply any of those. She doesn't apply Rage or Dawn or anything like that. So that's good as well. She gets rejection resistance, water and time as your awakenings. And then of course 40k is garbage, but whatever. The rejection resistance is interesting. Some people say that they still get hit with rejection. I don't get hit with rejection ever, but I don't think, so I personally don't think rejection resistance is that important, but it is one of the core, especially for something like PvP or guild battles, it can be very oppressive. So it's nice, because you're probably going to use this monster anyway. Water and time is really good. Time beats star, which is one of the hardest things to stack. And then water beats fire, which is great for Pandora. So this is it beats Pandora and Queen, both 2 monsters that are super prevalent in PvP right now and in guild battles. Very, very powerful. Increases your character's HP by 100% when equipped in the main slot. This is really, really interesting. Years ago, HP used to be maxed, and I think it was at 50% or maybe 100%. And sometime last year or the year before, A team realized that nobody was using HP percent, and so they basically removed the cap. They made a post and they were like, we're removing the cap on all HP gaining things. So I made a build. It was a soldier build, which maximized HP. And it's kind of interesting. It's one of the only ways to survive against really powerful unis in some instances. And it's one of the only ways to survive against really powerful PvP one-shotting in some circumstances. So stacking HP is a very interesting thing, but remember this is heavily based on your class. Depending on your class, you'll have a different base HP, so some classes benefit a lot more than other classes for HP. And it also, I believe this does not apply to CP unless they changed it. This is only your HP, so even in things like guild battles and excuse me, in guild battles and in PvP, your CP is generally way higher than your HP. So this probably won't be too effective in most circumstances, but I do like it. Now, overall, this monster is amazing. Um, there's almost no drawbacks for something like PvE, right? You're getting diffusion, which is amazing. You're getting all of the good boosts that you're getting, like you're getting the ability power boost. You're getting a crit boost. You're getting overcast, which boosts your cost recovery and things like that. But when it expires, it time extends. So you have a built-in time extend, and it will expire before these buffs expire. So that's really, really good. You get the time crest as well. So specifically against Star, this is incredibly powerful. And then you've got one of the best bubbles. It's one of the best damaging bubbles in the game. Flank is fantastic. It's the third best bubble in my opinion. So yeah, I mean, and you're getting things like Rage. I don't see this monster not being a 10 out of 10. Like, even if you throw this monster in general for PvE, this is going to be a really solid monster. I mean, there's no circumstances where this monster is bad. Now, keep in mind two things. This monster doesn't give you a field, so you'll want to throw additional field monsters. This monster also doesn't give you crit boost, so the crit chance could be low. So keep in mind as well, you'll want to make a good mix of abilities and procs in your weapons to ensure that you have good enough crit chance. So you're basically missing just those. You're also missing 200% buff, and you're also missing absolute so that you can triple proc. But usually absolute has been pretty common around like recently, and 200% has also been pretty common. So this is a fantastic monster. Diffusion, oh man, it's just so good. This is 10 out of 10 for PvE. Now for PvP, you are missing on something important. The fact that you can steal crests is good. The fact that you get diffusion and a bunch of buffs is really good, including Rage, but none of these give you penetration. So and you're still like, this monster isn't gonna kill most players, so I don't like that a whole lot. I do like this monster though. I would still say this monster is like a solo throw in PvP. Say it's a 7 out of 10 because diffusion is nice. Just because, yeah, diffusion is so good. Plus, these buffs are just gnarly. In things like if multiple people are throwing, I still like this monster, man. Overcast gives you boosts to your defense. You get the crest. If the enemies are throwing crest monsters, you steal crests and stuff like that. It's nice. It's nice. I'd say that this monster, in the case of a bunch of monsters being thrown, is a solid 9 out of 10. You're missing things like penetration, but hopefully your allies are throwing penetration and they actually get their monsters off. But I do like this monster. Yeah, somewhere between like an 8 and a 9 out of 10. And then for guild battles, as a first round throw, this is only good if you're trying to buff up. I do like that this monster doesn't kill the enemies, but the fact that you're getting diffusion means that you're going to potentially feed the entire enemy team. Plus the crest is basically useless besides for yourself. So I don't like that either. But these buffs are really good. For a clash monster, this is incredibly good. But for the first round throw, maybe round 1, as a buffing monster, this is nice because it's not going to kill the enemies. And fortunately, it doesn't boost your team's Unison, but most likely you'll be able to one-shot with these buffs and a field. So if any other players threw a field, you'd be good. It also doesn't like disable the enemies from throwing Unisons or gaining Unison or anything like that. So it's a little bit dangerous, but I do like it. I think it's a solid 8 out of 10 for like first round throws. Now for clashes, this is a really good monster. For time like Dark Star, I would say that this is an incredibly good monster because you're going to be full buffed. You'll basically just be able to one shot. Unfortunately, it doesn't do a whole lot of damage, and it applies the wrong crest. I would still say it's worth it though. You don't need those things to be able to one shot the enemies. So in many instances, I will say that this monster is just a 9 out of 10. Like, it's just a solid monster. For free to play players, I would say that this monster is 9 out of 10, or potentially no, I'll give it a 10 out of 10 for free to play players. It's just so good in PvE. It's gonna be able to carry you. Plus, you're gonna be able to beat some of these really hard quests that people are struggling with. Most of them are star, and so this is a really good monster as a new player, as a player that's just starting out. This is like a 10 out of 10 monster. You can use this for a long time. As a free-to-play player, I still think I like this. The Time Spirit's Crest is the only thing that I'm like on the edge about, but I like this monster. This is a fantastic monster overall, I think, for free-to-play players as well. I'd say for free-to-play players, probably 9 out of 10. Depends on if you have these types of buffs or not. But the flexibility is nice. The HP is nice. You'll be able to use it for a while because of the rejection and the water time defense. So yeah, I like it. Now let's talk about the weapons. 7XL guaranteed crit. No. Just boosts. Sorry. Boosts when crit, gives you 10 cost and restores HP. Unfortunately, it's on the type of gear and maxes out at XL. For new players, this is pretty good, actually. I would say that this is an 8 out of 10 for new players. You'll be able to use this for quite a long time. The only unfortunate part is the book typing, or the weapon-specific typing. And the fact that you are missing some damage if you don't crit. Now, for free-to-play players and for long-term players, I'd say this is like a 6 or 7 out of 10. Yeah. The cost is nice. You're missing things like uni. You're missing ability power boosts. But the HP is also kind of nice, and if you need a filler, it's not bad. And these guys, these are fantastic for new players. They boost concentration, which is your ability to proc your main slot defenses. Boosts your HP recovery at the very beginning of a match, which is excellent. Helps prevent new players from dying. And reflects at 20%, which is excellent for new players as well. Even for long-term players, you should have 2 duty to defends. So yeah, I think Ortensia is really good. I'll bring up how much that's actually going to cost you. So there's a total of 5 boxes. You can get Azur or the Ortensia from here. You get 400, 500, 600, 700 drops of ether, which is nice, and then a random weapon box. Keep in mind your medals are not 50 to 200, which they generally are. They are 100 to 400. So when you're doing the math, you'll have to change that. I did the general gist. In order to exchange for one of these at 9,900, it's going to cost you around 750 gems. I always recommend adding 150 to that just to be safe. So to guarantee your on stats, I would recommend 850 to 900 gems. You could do it for a little bit less. I would never recommend doing the 30%. However, it is worth mentioning that they have just released these Tome of the Destinies, which will allow you to change your monster stat combination. So, for example, if you did end up getting just spawning for the 750 or the 7,700 here, and you don't get an on-stat monster or stats that you like, you can always spend $75 and change it. So yeah, that's pretty much my opinion on those guys. I might have been a little bit harsh on Azur, depending on whether or not you actually end up with 100 cost or not, but I still really dislike decreased priority in many instances. So, all right, I will catch you guys later.